Morning, everyone, and welcome to another meeting of the Cabinet. We'll be taking decisions. So, the meeting's going to be live streamed. So if you are introducing a report or wanting to ask a question, could you kindly introduce yourself for the benefit of those members of the public or press that may well be watching on the council's YouTube channel. For those councillors unable to join the meeting in person but are on the Zoom for this meeting, so joining remotely, will not be able to present an item or move or second any report or vote. They can, of course, participate in the debate and ask a question, but they will not be officially recorded as having been present. In terms of meeting etiquette, just to echo what I said before, please can I ask that you indicate who you are and your role if you are talking to any item. And if you wish to speak, if you could kindly raise your hand if you are in the chamber, and if you are on Zoom, use your virtual hand and I'll get to you in due course. And then in terms of the reports that we're going to be taking, there are a number of them that have exempt papers attached to them, and we'll come to the exempt matters once we've got to agenda item 15, which is exclusion of the press and public, and that will just be formally noting exempt items. And please be mindful if you wanted to raise a question during the course of an item debate that is contained within the exempt appendices, I am going to need to evoke the public at that point so that we can continue the discussion on the item concerned. Additionally, if you look at the agenda as listed, please note that I'm going to be just making the following changes in terms of papers that we're going to be taking first. And those will be agenda item 11, agenda item 12, and agenda item 13. We will be taking those first, and then we will jump back into the items as listed. So after 11, 12, 13, we'll then be going to current agenda item 5, current agenda item 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 14. Yeah. Okay. So on that note, can I just receive firstly, Joy, any formal apologies for absence that you've received?
Yes, Chair, I received some apologies for absence from councillors Carly and Marion Daywell.
Okay, so that's Councillor Carleen Lee Packway, yeah?
Yeah.
Parkway.
Hey, Parkway.
I am so sorry, Carleen.
Did you do it?
Are there any other apologies that anyone in the chamber wishes to raise now? No? Okay, so all those apologies have been noted. Can I just draw everyone's attention to declarations of interest that are set out on pages 9 to 10? And in accordance with the members' code of conduct, this is time for members present who will be determining as part of the decision making. So this is cabinet members primarily. If you could declare any disclosable pecuniary interests or non-pecuniary interests that you may have relating to items. Are there any? Everyone's silent. I'm going to take that as a no. Can you record that as a no, Joy? Thank you very much. And then you'll note agenda item 3, which are minutes of the cabinet meeting held on the 16th of February. I'm going to take those as read. Can I just seek approval from cabinet that these are an accurate recording of the decision making that took place that date? Is that agreed?
Good, Chair.
Great. And then agenda item 4, appointments to outside bodies. There are no appointment to outside body announcements to be made today. So we'll note that as such. And now we're going to be jumping on to the agenda items, starting with, in line with the reordered agenda paper, Oak Crescent 4-unit acquisition, pages 191 to 202. And please kindly note that there are exempt appendices. So be mindful if you want to ask the question, because I'm going to have to revoke exclusion of press and public. So I'm going to be inviting Councillor Zulfikar Ali to introduce the paper, and then we'll invite relevant officers to add any more information as relevant, and then I'll open up to questions.
Thank
No.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Zulfikar Ali, Cabinet Lead for Finance and Resources. Chair, as you know, that we do have quite a heavy pressure on the homelessness and the housing situation that we're facing. And as part of our drive to improve things much faster pace, acquisition program has been accelerated over the last year or so. And I'm pleased to say that this report is a continuation of the journey that we embarked upon last year. And what's being suggested, proposed here is that we acquire 4 houses in Canning Town, Oak Crescent, and these will be delivering our much affordable and accessible housing needs based on the London Housing Allowance. And we are proposing to buy these from a reputable developer, Gracewood Group. And if it is agreed, it is estimated to be in March 2023, when we will take the ownership of the entire the package of sale here. It is intended that if we do agree, this will be put to a third party through leasing arrangement for management, such as future new homes or local space. On that basis, necessary independent evaluation has been obtained, and that demonstrate that we are getting value for money. Other due diligence is taking place, which is both legal and finance and others, and nothing will happen until that is completed. Basically, we're going to have 3 units of 2-bedroom, 1 unit of bedroom. That is the current situation. And I'm pleased to say that these new units do meet the efficiency standards, as the EPC rating is going to be A. In terms of the funding, it will be funded through the council's capital acquisition cost, which will be funded from the general fund borrowing, as indicated in Appendix 2, which is an exempt item. So the recommendation here, Chair, is that the Cabinet approves this acquisition program and delegate authority to the Corporate Director of Finance, self and the member for Housing, to conclude the rest of the proceeding. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. I'm going to invite Councillor Shaban Mohammed, the Cabinet Member for Housing Services, to make some comments.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. And I think this is, again, you know, over the last couple of months, last 6 months, we've had major supply issues, and our temporary accommodation costs have shot up. But this is, again, meeting the need of those residents, where we've got a really good acquisitions program, which we're trying to drive forward and address the supply issue, and, you know, really try to bring our costs down. So it's much needed. Just want to thank Councillor Ali and Darren Levy as well for the work that you've been doing with this acquisitions program, trying to get more acquisitions, get more supply in, and actually drive our costs down. And at the end of the day, we're trying to drive up standards of housing as well. So these are brand new units that we're going to be using for temporary accommodation, and it's much needed. And I can't wait to start getting more and more of these acquisitions in and drive our costs down, and also drive up the standards. And really want to thank the Mayor, again, Councillor Ali and Conrad, for the work they've been doing. And this is a programme that we initiated almost a year ago, bringing our various areas of council together: finance, housing, legal, trying to bring as much acquisitions. And it's that one council approach that we're trying to drive forward and bring our costs down. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. I'm gonna, before I bring in questions, if that's okay, I'm gonna invite officers, Conrad Hall, if you wanted to add any further commentary on this. And indeed, we may have Officer Sam Fording online. Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. So I'm Conrad Hall, Council's Corporate Director of Resources. Just to confirm, as set out in this report, and indeed the other two reports on the agenda that are also part of the acquisition programme. The acquisitions meet the financial metrics that the council has set, obviously, and as set out in the report highlighted by Councillor Ellie. If the conveyancing process, some issue comes to light, of course, we would not actually proceed to complete the acquisition until that was resolved. But the information there shows that unless some unexpected process arises during the conveyancing process, all of these could proceed, would meet the council's financial metrics to ensure that they are, and of course, contribute towards the remediation of a very difficult temporary situation. So I'll pause there, Chair, and perhaps those comments can also be taken as read for the other two acquisitions also on this agenda to avoid money. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Conrad. I'm going to be opening up to questions. So Councillor Neil Wilson.
Yeah, Councillor Neil Wilson, Cabinet Member for Health and Adult Social Care. Welcome this. Paragraph 5.3 on page 194. As to following an assessment from the council's occupational therapist, we will have the opportunity to prioritise units for families with accessibility needs. So I welcome that because there's currently 15 urgent transfer cases in temporary accommodation, and temporary accommodation is one real big issue across the country, but particularly in the London. But there's also the need to have, this is at ground floor level, obviously, because of physical accessibility issues. I welcome that. And I think that that prioritisation will be well received.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Are there any other questions, colleagues? Nope. Right. So I am going to be inviting Cabinet members to note the recommendations as set out on big page number 192 to 193. For the reasons set out in the report and its appendices, Cabinet is recommended to agree. 3.1.1 for the council to acquire the long leasehold interest of Oak Crescent to the property. 3.1.2 to delegate authority to the Corporate Director of Resources in consultation with the lead member for Housing Services and the lead member for Finance and Corporate Services to negotiate and finalise the terms and legal documentation for the acquisition in line with the terms set out at exempt appendices 1, 2 and 3, and to complete the acquisition of the subject to completion of the necessary due diligence. And 3.1.3, that the property should be leased to a suitable third-party housing organisation. Then 3.1.4, to delegate authority to the Corporate Director of Resources in consultation with the lead members for Housing Services and Finance Resources, determine the arrangements for the council's letting of the property in line with paragraphs 5.5 to 5.11 below, and to enter into the necessary associated legal and contractual documentation. So is that agreed, Cabinet members?
Agreed, Chair.
That's agreed, Brian. Thank you very much. We're now moving on to agenda item 12. Similarly, this is an acquisition, and I will be inviting both Councillor Zulfikar Ali and Councillor Shaban Mohammed. I noted Conrad made comments and requested that those should be taken as it pertains to acquisition items. So the same comments Conrad set out apply to this one. And this is Greenbank Loft 18-unit acquisition. Over to you.
Thank you, Chair. And without repeating the urgency and the need for more homes, as Conrad said, and I said earlier in my earlier introduction report, this is another report to enable us to purchase 18 units, including a commercial unit at the Mellons Group Development Greenbank Left in Tower Hamlets. And if I may say, Chair, that even though it's located in Tower Hamlets in Wapping, it is within 30 minutes on public transport from both Stratford and the council's Oxford Dockside. And this falls well within the council's designation geographical area for temporary accommodation being within 1 hour or via public transport. For your information, members, we already have 81 families who have been accommodated on nightly basis in Tower Hamlets. The 18 units comprise of 4 studio flats, 7 one-bedroom and 7 bedroom. We have obtained a formal valuation, and that demonstrates that we are getting value for money. Initially, the seller intended to sell these on an individual basis, but we have now finalized a transaction based on sort of totality of the situation here. The commercial unit, the seller has already been in negotiation with Sainsbury's for a 15-year lease, and that is going to be beneficial in terms of the financial analysis of the overall proposal here. And I'm pleased to say that it meets our standards in terms of the rate of return and in terms of the viability of the financial investment. So the proposal here is, Chair, that we cabinet, that we buy this and then again let this through a management company, as I said before. This will be another addition to our much needed accommodation needs across the borough. And I strongly recommend that we approve this. So I'll ask Conrad or Shoban first, if you want to say.
Yeah, again, I think we've got a really high needs demand process in temporary accommodation. I think this is going to really, again, we're going to have a number of these acquisitions coming over the next couple of months, really to drive up that supply and try to, drive down demand as well. And again, it's beneficial to our residents. And I think, I know it's out of borough, but I think, we've got to look at all options on the table. And if it brings value for money to the council and it benefits our residents, again, it putting residents to secure really good accommodation. And again, it's, less reliance on the PRS private rented sector. We're trying to have our own accommodation so we can really benefit our residents. And it's really, really good that we're finally seeing some light at the end of the tunnel in terms of the acquisitions programme and trying to drive up standards. And I think what you've got to take into consideration is that our numbers for the last couple of months in residents presenting as homeless as it's significantly shut up, and we desperately crying out for this accommodation. I know it's a neighbouring borough, but again, it meets our requirements and our budgetary requirements. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Colleagues, are there any questions? I just wanted to draw attention to two areas. One, that the 18 units are being built to a high quality specification and to high energy efficiency standards of EPC rating B+, which additionally will help in terms of energy efficiency and savings and costs of those residents that are being placed there. Secondly, noting the commercial element of the building that we're going to be purchasing and the additional income stream that's going to be accrued for the council under the arrangement. And that's big page number 206, 413. I just thought that was really worth noting. So that's really, really good, optimising the money that we're spending. Okay, so colleagues, the recommendations are set out on big page number 204 to the top of 205. They reflect the recommendations that I set out for the previous item, but obviously with one change primarily, which is 3.1.3 for the council to acquire the freehold interest of Greenbank Lofts, the property, and the rest very much following the previous set of recommendations. I won't read them out, but I will invite members of cabinet, having looked at recommendations 3.1 all the way through to 3.1.4 on big page number 205. Are we all agreeable?
Agreed.
Thank you very much. So that's agenda item 12, Joy, and now we're moving to agenda item 13, similarly another acquisitions. Charlie Court, and that's 22 units. Over to you, Zulfikar.
Thank you, Chair. Again, this is another good opportunity for us to acquire 2 freehold units in Canning Town, located where the council already has housing stock and fairly close to the regeneration area. Out of the 22, currently there is planning permission for 18 units across 2 blocks, and the developer has put in another application for additional 4 units. And 2 of the additional units will replace commercial space on the ground floor if the permission is granted. And currently that is being considered by the NEOM's planning department. We have negotiated terms to acquire this block with or without additional unit. So that option and that flexibility is there. If planning applications are not approved, then the commercial units could be used as alternative commercial space for existing commercial units and town regeneration area. The block A, which contains 2 1-bedroom, 2 2-bedroom, and 6 3-bedroom, is due to be completed in April 2023. And if the planning application is granted, block B is likely to be completed in autumn 2023. Therefore, it is proposed block A is purchased in the first instance to utilize the 10 units completing earlier, and with block B to follow pending the planning permission. The 2 blocks will have their own freehold title, and they're not interlinked and have separate entrances. And the scheme again has an EPC rating C, which helps to contribute towards overall energy efficiency objectives. External evaluation has been obtained, and that is in accordance with the Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors Red Book, as they call it, and that does demonstrate that we are getting value for money. The officers are close to completing negotiations, as it's not been finalized yet. But the proposal is that we go ahead with the purchase, and subject to completion of due diligence, we enter into the final agreement once that's concluded. That's all I would say, Chair, at this stage. Sharon?
Yeah, again, really good that we're finally addressing temporary accommodation, buying our own stock in. And I don't want to repeat what I already said, but really, really good programme. And the next couple of months, we'll probably have a lot more of these acquisitions programs coming in. And it's really good that we are actually working as one council. And as Neil said, trying to get more of these units and benefit all our residents, regardless of their disability and everything else. That's really, really good, and really pleased that finally we are starting to address the spiraling cost of temporary accommodation by buying our own stock in.
Okay, and similarly, Conrad's earlier comments applies to this as well. Are there any questions, colleagues? Nope. Right, so just to note, sorry, let me start again. Just can I draw your attention to the recommendations set out on big page number 216, going to the top of big page number 217, and as per the 2 previous papers, recommendations are broadly, in fact, are the same, bar 3.1.1, where there is the reference to agree the council to acquire the freehold interests of block A, Charlie Court, and block B, Charlie Court, for property. So on the basis of the recommendations as set out from 3.1 all the way to 3.1.4, do we agree?
Agreed.
Great. Okay, super. So thank you very much, Councillor Ali, and thank you to all officers involved, and well done, Shabs, for sticking at it. All right. So, and it is really good to see the acquisitions pipeline coming through finally. Right. Okay. So we're now going to be jumping back onto other items. So just by way of reminder, jumping back to what is stated as being agenda item 5, and then we'll carry on. So the next paper, colleagues, this is the paper relating to the Commission on Multi-Ethnic and Inclusive NUM. The report set out the rationale, the background, and also provides an executive summary relating to what the commission seeks to do. It provides an overview of the practical arrangements around the commission. In sum, this is a continuation of important work that we do under this administration in ensuring that as a council, as a public body, we are deeply alert to the nature, character, Newham as a diverse place, that we continue to shape our practice in driving forward our inclusivity agenda, how we want to position ourselves as a council that is pioneering in its thinking and makes significant contributions to national debates relating to identity and country. And I think it's apt that we are considering this report and we have progressed to this phase of our work in this area to build on the work that we've done over recent years, be that in response to Black Lives Matter. We established the tackling racism, inequalities and disproportionality that is experienced across different ethnic groups, but specifically Black Caribbean and Black African communities. It builds on our work that we've been taking forward under the auspices of our Commissioner for Interfaith and Interreligious Dialogue, Councillor Anne Easter, in recognition that faith is an important identity marker and a way of life for so many of our residents in this borough, and we need to be alert to how that manifests in their interaction with all aspects of the council and how we're responsive to those needs and many other needs based on cultural requirements, gender, the fact that we, in line with what was published in the recent release from the Office for National Statistics, a borough with the highest number of trans community anywhere in England and Wales. And it is right that we constantly challenge ourselves as a public body to ensure that we're alert to the changing and evolving character of our communities and that we reshape our services so that they are materially inclusive and involving and responsive. I'll pause there and I will invite, I don't know if there's an officer here to say. Oh, Natalie. Oh, I'm sorry. Natalie, who is the Executive Chief Marketing Officer, who I'll be working with on this alongside other colleagues. Oh, before I do pass on, just to say, colleagues, you will have noted or will recall that before Christmas, I announced at November Full Council that Sundar Kotwala has agreed to be the independent chair of this commission. And I think that's a really exciting commitment that we've been able to get from someone who is very significant in these national debates and genuinely, as you would expect, but seriously excited about this piece of work. So I'm really looking forward to what comes out from this area. Over to you, Natalie.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for having the opportunity to present this paper. And really just to echo the comments and introduction is that there's a real opportunity for us as a borough to demonstrate best practice and forward thinking in how we consider issues relating to diversity, inclusion and multi-ethnicity. As the paper sets out, we have achieved an awful lot in this area, but there's still much more to do. So there's an opportunity to really embed best practice thinking in how we operate as a council in service design and delivery, and also to think about how we can start to counter some of the negativity and I guess the rising issues that some of our young people particularly face in addressing issues of identity and inclusion. So as really the paper sets out, the aim of the Commission is about how do we position Newham and start to take action to demonstrate that we're a practical pioneer for how we establish a sense of belonging, how we put Newham at the forefront of understanding and then responding to issues of diversity, particularly in a fast changing population, and considering some of the issues that really have a myriad impact on sense of identity. That includes considering how we identify and then better understand key inequalities and structural disproportionality, and better understand through quantifiable metrics how we as a local government organisation can make lasting change. And I think importantly, as you'll sort of see from the paper, a lot of what we're proposing is very much about identifying practical ways that we can make a difference. And it builds on work that's already underway in areas such as our faith programme, cultural programming, our TRID programming, and also how we consider issues such as gender identity and also sexuality. So the paper sets out really 3 recommendations for Cabinet today. Firstly, the approval of the establishment of the Commission, the appointment of Sundar Katwala as the independent chair, and approval of the scope of the Commission, and then the delegated authority to actually deliver on the scope of work. I'll stop there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to invite questions. Councillor Neil Wilson.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair. Welcome this, and particularly the reference, because it builds on work in a whole load of areas, including the health equity programme. So I welcome particularly the reference at 4.2.2.3 on page 32. It says how Newham Council effectively, this is one of the tasks to explore specific questions around the multivariate analysis around understanding of barriers and equality of voice. How Newham Council, we as a council with the overriding legal power of the well-being of our population, how we effectively promote practical action by major partners and stakeholders across the borough. So not just in the world of business, but education, health, arts and culture, to engage our residents in what more we could do together. Because I think that, yes, we're the lead agency, but we certainly can't do this alone when some of our residents, particularly the casework that we deal with other partners, shows that people are not treated equitably in other areas, whether it be the police or health or any other statutory bodies, but also across sometimes. So I welcome that particular commitment, Chair, and I think it does build on some really good work that we're already doing in the health sphere with partners. Thanks.
Right, brilliant. Thank you very much. Councillor Charlene McLean.
Brilliant, thank you, Chair. Just building on what Councillor Lawson said, so I really welcome this, and it generally does build on some of the great work that we've already been doing. So if members look at 3.5 in the report, where it speaks about all of the different activities and programmes that I was leading on with support of Councillor Easter and the former Commissioner, Councillor Rohit Gupta, you know, and the TRID programme, etc. We've really started to look into these areas. So it would be good to have a outcomes of how we're going to take this forward to make Newham a better place. So I really welcome this, and thank you, Chair.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Councillor John Whitworth.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I also very much welcome this report, which a diverse borough like Newham can really show the way forward for other areas of the country, I'm sure. And this is a great means of doing it. I did notice some of the activities mentioned for reducing inequalities and highlighting the participation of diverse groups, things like Black History Month, Newham and Lot, etc. These are very good activities. In fact, they should be better attended. That's one thing we can work on. But perhaps also what should be underlined are events where people can actually discuss, meet and work together to help construct things in the borough. I mean, things like our obvious example is community assemblies, getting more people of different groups to actually to work together. I think this is one of the keys of increasing participation and reducing poverty, is getting people together to discuss and work, construct the borough together. I have a question about the recruitment of the commission, which is to be left to the chief executive. But I wonder if thought had been given to how what method will be used to recruit the members of the commission.
Okay. So I'll come back to that. Let me just take, yeah. Oh, no, sorry, it was Councillor Zulfikar Ali first.
Thank you.
Because you have to leave soon.
Thank you, Chair. I agree fully with my colleagues' remarks earlier. This is indeed a very welcoming, in a borough where we are the second highest, I think, ethnically diverse borough in the country. And this is something that is a continuation of the journey we started, as the report highlights some of the key successes in terms of the social integration strategy and the work we've done on inclusion in faith sector and voluntary sectors and the other areas. A great step forward, and I think it's important that we look at a culture change, and this is something that I hope we deliver tangible outcome to ensure that the conception, the stereotyping, and the perceptions of ethnically diverse residents of the borough would be influenced to make sure that there is greater partnership and trust and a sense of belonging, that people feel that actually Newham Council is doing really good stuff. And I really admire the aspiration here that we want to be a leader in the country in terms of delivering services for such a diverse range of communities who have lived here very peacefully and in a very cohesive manner over many years. Welcome this year. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Councillor Anne Easter.
Anne Easter, member for Royal Albert Wheeling, Commissioner for Dialogue. I very much welcome this, and particularly, although I know that we're a very young borough, the irrefutable fact is that time is going on and we are all getting older. And we do have a number of people in this, member of our group celebrating a special day today. You said I couldn't get that in. And I do hope, particularly the voluntary community and faith sectors, do tend to include people, seniors. And I hope that we will continue always to make it very possible for seniors to join in and to bring their wisdom and their knowledge and experience to the table along with everybody else. So I think this is great and I very much look forward to it.
Super, thank you very much. And then I've got Councillor Shabal Mohammed.
Yeah, I just want to really thank, the administration, that all the work that we've been doing around bringing our communities together. I think when I first came in, we've done some work around the hard to reach communities like the Somali community, and this engagement work that we're starting to do now is paying dividend. And I think, all the other stuff that we've been doing, Eid in the Park and bringing our faith communities together, it only breaks down barriers. And again, celebrate Christmas. I went to the Christmas lunches, enjoyed all the residents coming together and enjoying each other's company. And it's been really, it's been really, really good experiences. And, long may it continue, because, we've got a young generation, we've got an elderly population as well. And that's how we mix the both together and bring everyone together. And this is why, Newham is such a diverse borough, because it brings everyone together. Everyone wants to come in, live in Newham and enjoy each other. And the other thing I was going to say about the Eastern European community as well, we've done some events with the Eastern European community on Pancake Day. Me and Councillor Whitworth and other councillors went and attended. It's really, really good, and we just need more of it. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. And then in response, I'm sorry, Councillor Sardia.
Sorry, I welcome the report. I think it's absolutely amazing, but I had a how do we ensure residents' and experience with all the service we provide from the top is actually implemented? Because when someone doesn't, because there are different cultural, religious needs from different sectors of the community, how do we ensure that everyone gets treated fairly and actually we address their needs as well?
I'm going to invite both Natalie and James Partus, because in their respective roles, they're addressing that presently, because that's something that we know we've had to improve. And as you'll be aware, Councillor Charlie McLean is leading on the experience and as well as engagement. And there's the residents' charter that we adopted Cabinet in March last year, and that's an important, in fact, it's fundamental to the transformation of the organisation. And then I'll come back on a couple of the other questions raised around outcomes and the appointment process.
Yeah, and totally with comments on the important journey we need to go on around the quality and quality of resident experience across all universities. It's, you know, one of the things that have come out in our annual review of complaints. It's been a really very new strategy, so it's really something that we've been quite open and clear about our ambition to tackle. If I refer cabinet to would be the investment that's gone into both the call centre and our frontline directorate, built into the building and framing budget, which will deliver 95% of calls answered on time for the first time in a very long time in council streams. Actually, it's an investment that not many councils are able to make at the moment, and I sort of credit budget for that achievement. The second key thing is the investment that's been put into the transformation programme. It's a really meaningful programme of work that's going to be reviewing common and consistent standards of resident contact. Our staff can come champions and ambassadors how they working, and we need to know best in class examples of excellent customer service. Example of this, a really good example of ensuring that every member of staff that joins John Lewis is quite an interesting fact. Go to a school of customer service excellence, a school of customer service happens to be based in Westfield Stratford. Every John Lewis member of staff that joins is put through a 1 to 2 week programme. It's one example of the kind of collective kind of interventions and transformational initiatives that the council is going to be investing in as a result of the really positive decisions that are made. All of that is quality of service. So I'm quite excited about it's going to shape up.
Okay, Natalie, did you want to add anything else to the resident experience, and then I'll come to others? Yeah, sorry.
Thank you. That's right. Thank you, Chair. Just to sort of add is that further to James's points, we're also looking at how we improve accessibility of our communications. So there'll be a piece of work looking at how we better design communications to make them more accessible, how we think about translations, and also think about how we share information via events and in-person activities. So there's a whole broad, I guess, body of work which is ultimately about improving resident experience and engagement with the council. But pivotal will be the output from the Commission in terms of better understanding what our residents need almost at an individual level.
Okay, and then just in quick, a couple of the questions. One on outcomes, absolutely. There will be tangible, practical outcomes that will align with the council's outcomes-based performance framework, and the independent chair is alert to the need for the process that the Commission will undertake, which will be a two-phased process. One which is in essence field work and inquiry and inviting a range of voices from important areas, reflecting the different arenas in the borough and across all sections of the community, as well as agencies and the partners and the anchor institutions. And then there will be a phase 2 of deliberations in terms of what the practical implications of all of this will mean for the council, building on existing policies, strategies, and operational models that are in place. So that's set out in various sections of the report. And then, Councillor John Whitworth, to your point around the appointment of the independent, of the 8 commissioners. So if you can draw your attention to 4.4 on big page number 33, Commission will be chaired by Sunda Kutwala as an independent expert with up to 8 commissioners appointed through a transparent process agreed by the independent chair in consultation with the interim chief executive and the mayor. And the commissioners will represent different and relevant expert perspectives and insight across academia, policy, public service delivery, etc. We've also made, emphasise the important role of young people's voice, not least because we've got the Children and Young Persons Charter that we approved we received at Cabinet last year. So I trust that satisfies, the transparency is going to be the key, and no doubt, I imagine, one of the recommendations that Sunda will make is that there's an element of sort of publicising and inviting expressions of interest. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to ask if we can just go to the recommendations as set out on big number 29 for the reasons set out and the appendices as applicable. The Mayor and Cabinet recommended 2.1 approve the establishment of the Commission on Multi-Ethnic and Inclusive NUM as described in this report, with Sunda Katwala as its independent chair. 2.2 approve the scope of the Commission as set out in section 4 of this report. 2.3 delegate to the interim chief executive and assistant chief executive, chief marketing officer, in consultation with the Mayor and the independent chair, the arrangements for recruiting the members of the Commission and the arrangements for supporting the resource in the Commission. So is that all agreed, colleagues?
Agreed.
Yeah, agreed. So that's agreed. Thank you very much. On a personal note, say thank you very much genuinely to all members of the Cabinet and the wider executive in embracing this. I see this as another one of those really fundamental pieces of work that we're doing as an administration, and I'm really happy. Thank you. Right, okay, so we're now going to go on to agenda item 6, which is Juniper Ventures, a 3-year plan for children's health and community wealth. And I'm going to be handing over to Neil Wilson and then on to relevant officers. And I want to first say, if I may, and taking advantage of being the chair, this is again a moment of real significance for administration. And I think we should acknowledge the scale of ambition that we are driving through this paper, and it should not be underestimated, and its transformative impact in the lives of families, particularly as it pertains to the conditions that we find ourselves in at this point of the 21st century, where literally we have families living in this borough, in this country, that are on the precipice of destitution. Literally, we have families, adults in households that are starving themselves in order to feed their kids. I think this is just such an important aspect of what it is that we do when I talk about we're here to change the world. And it's really great that we're changing the world in this part of the planet. Over to you, Neil.
Thank you very much, Chair, and clearly underline and welcome your comments. It is a reflection on one of the richest countries in the world that we have food banks and people at that level of poverty now exacerbated by a cost of living crisis. In the introduction, I've said that there's a clear correlation between food and health, and it's quite clear that this ambitious programme is trying to address some of those levers which we can operate in terms of a whole school approach to the pupils' food and their health. The universal meal scheme, Eat for Free, has been highlighted in national media following announcements in City Hall by the Mayor of London. But this scheme we have in terms of ensuring that every pupil of a primary school age is provided with a lunch of high nutritional quality. We are one of the fewer boroughs in the London footprint at the moment to have such provision. But we've got our own controlled catering service, and that is a key, as a highlight from the relevant background pages. Juniper Ventures Limited and its subsidiary Juniper Pursuits are LATCOs. They're, in other words, local authority traded companies, are wholly owned by the council. And they've been established for 5 years, has not been without problems, but this is a real important transformation. And that's why I'm glad that it's headed, that it's a 3-year transformation plan. And it's not just about children's health, important levers, as the Mayor has said, and I hope I've underlined. It is about community wealth as well, because it's a local employer of about 900 staff with a turnover of 21 million, and a lot of those, 87% are Newham residents. So if we're talking about really community wealth building, it is that ambitious programme that we need to make certain is transformed for those employers. And the actual year that's just is or about to end at the end of this month has witnessed many challenges for the whole educational school meals context and cleaning sector, but Juniper has been able to withstand pressures without any mid-year injection from this council, which is a real turnaround, I feel. But in order for Juniper to carry on a far-reaching transformation programme over 3 years, there is a need to ensure that it's firmly established in a financial position prior to that end of year audit. And what this paper does is an approach where the conversion of capital grant into preference shares with no additional funding requirements upon the council. There are a lot of elements, obviously, in the budget that was passed at full council, which are pressures on the council on the corporate risk register. And this is quite a clear direction of travel where the conversion of capital grant into preference shares would have no additional funding requirements. Clear links to not just healthy eating as per the 50 step to healthy Newham, but also the climate now and community wealth building phases as I've outlined. I think it's important to stress, just lastly from me before I bring in officers, is that I want to thank the work of Andy Gold, because he won't say it himself, our public health manager, working closely with the relevant people in Juniper, and obviously they are the caterers within the Dockside building and will keep up the pressure as both service users as well as cabinet members and the rest of the wider executive. So there are issues in terms of where the schools are clients. There are issues about us maintaining a position, unlike neighbouring authorities who went down the privatised catering routes. This is the largest in-house provision, one of them left into local authority control. And I think it's a bit like the argument about school budgets. The local authority control is not interference mechanism, it's a facilitation one. It's maintaining good quality standards of employment, particularly for the predominantly female workers in both cleaning and catering. And just to welcome that Juniper has listened to our concerns about the payment of the London living wage because of the obvious inflation points that have already been highlighted by the mayor. So I'll leave it there and invite Andy to come in with further. That's okay, Chair. Yeah.
Yeah, please.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you. Do you want to move so that you're visible to people?
Oh, don't shoot the messenger.
Yes, it's a screen issue.
There you can be seen there.
I think we were told you have to sit in the front row for the microphone to pick you up.
I'm sure Andy doesn't need a microphone.
Andy Gold, health manager at Food Traffic. Well, Chair, Catherine, you kind of covered it really. The thing I would say is we are a front running borough on school meals because we take a joined up approach. You know, we obviously Eat for Free is the, I think the oldest universal meal scheme, and since 2019, with its grant conditions and its grant principles, we've turned it into an engine of community wealth building. Those 23,000 meals a day that Juniper deliver are meals that are certified and that the staff deliver at terms and conditions. The work, and it's been touched on, it has a huge impact, but also it has a huge impact on work, action on climate now, and our work to build an inclusive society. And it's significant, isn't it? Today is the launch of the Say Yes campaign for universal meals nationally, which obviously the campaigning council we've been founding signatory on, and we really platformed and spoken for because we've seen the benefits here. And obviously this afternoon we have guests from all across the capital and beyond coming to reimagining food in secondary education, because again it's always been a very clear direction as officers that we're counting on school meals and we should envelope to deliver the maximum we can on this. And really the only other thing I'd say is huge thank you. It's been a huge cross council effort from our team and others who have made this possible, but really just a sort of moment to say thank you really for all the support and clear direction we get on this work.
Well done.
Thank you very much. Okay, do I invite Jason, would you like to say anything on this front?
Nothing to add, just huge thanks to Andy and other colleagues.
Oh, shucks. Don't worry, my admiring words will come to you in a moment. No, well done. Right, let's open up to any questions. Okay, councillor Sarah Rewers.
Councillor Sarah Rewers, Cabinet Member for Children's Services. I never ever thought we'd see this report. Do you know, I mean, this has been bouncing around for probably two years.
Yeah.
So great work. Thank you I'm not to Andy, I know, because he is incredibly passionate about this area. It isn't easy for Juniper to deliver in this way that they do. They are incredibly flexible. They deal with a myriad of dietary requirements on a day in, day out basis. They are very happy to work with the schools. And I think that we will find, a school that I'm currently a governor at, who strayed out of the fold, I think are looking to come back in. And I think we will see that. I feel it's a shame that we don't have the same approach for our cleaning services that we do with Eat for Free. We all know that the London living wage should be a requirement to anybody who delivers services in this borough. And sadly, those schools who don't employ Juniper for cleaning have found that they don't actually pay the London living wage. A group of schools recently boasted that they were going to be saving 30,000 by not employing Juniper, had no thought that this was at the cost of actually reducing people's wages. So, hats off to Juniper, because they do have their detractors. You can't win them all the time, but we have worked really hard to ensure that they are now on an even footing. Our next task, of course, is to ensure that the food at the dockside, whatever it's called, continues to provide a bit of a challenge for some of us. So thank you very much, Andy, and thank you, Jason. And Neil, of course.
Okay, are there any other questions? I've got councillor Zulfikar Ali and councillor Joshua Garfield.
Thank you, Chair. Can I just echo my colleagues' words here? Clearly, this is a welcoming report, which, as my previously colleagues have said, that this was long due. And I know when I was cabinet lead for this area, this is something that we have worked very hard to move things forward. And I think addition to public health was a step in the right direction, which fits into our community wealth building, our health and well-being, and 50 steps. So it's a great work that's been done by the colleagues, officers, and Neil here. And I really see this opportunity to take off now, bearing in mind that the Mayor of London has announced that other boroughs will be providing free school meals to primary children. I think, as Councillor Wilson said, we have led the way, and I hope that others will learn lessons from it. And I see this as a great opportunity for Juniper to expand its business and to put Newham on the map for the rest of London. So thank you to Andy and Jason and Councillor Wilson. Thank you.
Great. Councillor Joshua Garfield.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for this report. Councillor Ruiz is absolutely right. As a borough, our strategy is not just for families to be able to access a scheme which gives their child a hearty, healthy meal every single day of the school year, but also that the staff employed by the organisation are paid the London living wage at a time when it is even more difficult than it's ever been to get by. The cost of living crisis is something that is affecting all of us. For those on the lower end of pay scales, it will be hitting them far harder than many of us can even imagine. The idea that there are organisations in our borough that are supposed to serve the community but have made the choice to undercut Juniper in order to pay under the London living wage, I frankly think is rather disgraceful. But what's brilliant about this strategy is it gives us an opportunity to bring some of those partners back into the fold with a programme that delivers not just on our Eat for Free promise, also that commitment to ensuring a age, all staff in the organisation, because I know even for organisations that are as stretched as individual families are, where they're having to make those sort of cost-cutting exercises, they would rather be in a position where they can rely on a long-term strategy and outline their finances for the medium term and sign up to a scheme like this. With the Mayor of London's announcement recently that all boroughs will be providing free school meals for all primary school children for 1 year, it's worth remembering that we've budgeted to do this for several years and will continue to do so regardless of 1 year's injection of funding for the scheme. And just last week, Westminster Council, now run for the first time in its history by a Labour administration, is also going to be providing for the long term free school meals for primary school children across the borough. Westminster, as a local authority, we often think of it as being a very wealthy part of the country, but just like boroughs all over London, there are pockets of poverty that the Labour administration has identified need that level of support. Along with our colleagues in Islington, in Lewisham and Tower Hamlets, we've led the way for quite some time. And I think the Mayor of London's announcement gives Juniper a unique commercial opportunity to show the rest of London how a scheme like this can be delivered by a local authority without full-time funding from the GLA, which we know can't be sustained beyond the year that's been promised. Thank you for bringing this paper to us, Andy.
Councillor Shaban Mohammed.
I was just going to say, it's hats off to this administration, because I think when it came in 2018 that we looked at our LATCOs and made sure that, you know, we adopted the London Living Wage, which is absolutely making a big difference to those LATCOs and Juniper, but also the fact that, you know, we're driving up the quality of food that we're delivering to those children is all healthy, mate, and really glad that we led the way on London Living Wage and made sure that, you know, our staff are getting that in our LATCO. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, I can't see any other hands up. Just a couple of comments from me. And I'll come to one related to the recommendations. The only thing that I would caution, and I really and it's right that we celebrate this moment, just given the scale and the scale of challenge facing households. And Andy, thank you once again for your leadership in this space and in enabling us to elevate Newham as a pioneer in this area of work. It's important that we continue that pioneering stance. One of my major concerns is given the costs associated with universal free school meals provision, and it is to be noted that the Mayor of London has only announced for a 1 year allocation. The costs associated, not least because of food price inflation, means that we actually have an additional responsibility and duty, and that duty is about ensuring that the wider sector levels up to our standards and doesn't level down. And that means there must be no compromise on quality and the nutritional benefit of the food that we provide our kids, and indeed as part of our wider food security systems approach to families. And I know that that's a work in progress, and we've got to be honest with ourselves and frank, that also ensure that the economic benefit accrued is also secured. So that is the London Living Wage, not a little bit of the London Living Wage, not a flavour of the London Living Wage, but the London Living Wage. So those would be my requirements as we continue endorsing this approach, and as we maintain our diligence around the outcomes through the proposals we're about to consider, which neatly leads me on to the element in the recommendations. There's one that talks to that a Juniper business plan will be made available for approval in Q1 of the financial year 2023-24. I'm assuming will be made available for approval to Cabinet. Right, okay, so can we just insert two cabinets for approval at big page number 38, 2.2.2. So the recommendations as set out in the report are as follows. For the reasons set out in the report, Cabinet has recommended to agree 2.1.1, the conversion of £4.5 million working capital loan provided to Juniper Ventures Limited, the company, into preference shares as investment into the council company. 2.1.2, enter into a deed of variation of work to the working capital loan agreement to reduce the facility to 1.5 million and extend the term for a period of 5 years. 2.1.3, amend the venture between the council and its companies and make the associated changes to registered charges at Companies House to give effect the recommendations in this report. 2.2, asked to note 2.2.1 key elements of the transformation work in school meals that Juniper and the council are working to effect. 2.2.2, that a Juniper business plan will be made available for approval to Cabinet in Q1 of the financial year 2023-2024. Just one other thing to clarify. There's reference to Juniper Ventures Limited company in 2.1.1, and then you have 2.1.3, and then the debenture, is that how you pronounce it?
Debenture.
Yeah, between the council and its companies. So I know that there are two legal entities of Juniper Ventures. So do we need to specify those in the recommendations? I think in the interest of transparency, it would be important.
We could do so. I mean, I think it is clear from the both, but we can certainly add to the minute something to the effect to confirm that point.
Okay, so can I just suggest that in the recommendation 2.1.3, where it says and its companies, do an open bracket and list the companies. So it's Juniper Ventures Limited and it's Juniper Pursuit Limited. Yeah.
Yes, for clarity.
So is everyone clear? All right, super. So are we agreeable to the recommendations? Okay, fine. Right, well done. Well done, everyone. Okay, and take care, Phil. Right, colleagues, we're going to be moving on to agenda item 7, which is the building affair and Q3 for the year, that's financial year 2022 to 2023, and it's our performance report. And as per all previous quarterly performance reports that come to Cabinet and then can be examined and are examined by overview scrutiny, myself, the Chief Executive and James Passes will be attending scrutiny later this week to discuss this. And in essence, as you all know, we've done something really significant in this borough in relation to, one, getting to a point where we've got a regularity and a regime in place for corporate plans. Number two, not being content with just quantitative measures of progress, but actually qualitative measures. We've shaped an outcomes-based performance framework, which provides us with meaningful data insights as to how we're genuinely really doing. And it's very much in line with our transparency agenda, where we are equally robust ourselves, and we are happy to put the spotlight on any part of the council and any aspect of our delivery where we don't think we've got it right. And I think that's a testament to a healthy, maturing organisation that definitely is changing. I know that there's much more to do around performance and outcomes, given the scale of inequality and deprivation, poverty, and all those things that we care about, but also, as discussed earlier and raised by Councillor Sabia Kamali, around performance and the experience of our residents when they interact with the council across a range of services. So I'm gonna, at this juncture, invite Officer James Partis, who's our Assistant Chief Executive, Chief Transformation Officer, to provide us a overview of some key highlights, and then we'll open up to questions, and then, all being well, you'll be agreeable to approve to note.
Great, thanks. I don't know if there's much I can add to that, but I'll quickly kind of take Cabinet through the core messages and highlights from this quarter's report. We always try to roll out sort of cross-cutting strategic issues that are emerging over and above the very detailed and comprehensive reporting on performance and delivery, which we report together. Some of those factors which can come across the council's delivery plans remain relatively unchanged from previous quarters, specifically the ongoing challenges our residents need to be facing around cost of living. Council need to continue to redirect our resources and attention responding to that. The ongoing challenges that we face in terms of responding to continuous short-term and quite dynamic around future financial commitments from government, which have been responded to quite positively, I would suggest, by way of building a very new budget, which is inextricably linked to the corporate plan that we're trying to achieve organisationally. And also that continued need to challenge themselves to be as one council as possible, be as focused on resident experience, to be as accountable and transparent as possible. Those are sort of the ongoing challenges I raise. I would draw Cabinet's attention to the change that we've seen in the number of red-rated corporate plan commitment items, and there's been a reduction in the number of red-rated items that we're reporting on in this quarter. That's primarily driven by the significant work that's been led on by Cabinet and CMT and the organisation in establishing the building a fair and budget. A substantial number of commitments were dependent on positive decisions that need to be made in that budget to start the activities. Those changes are now reflected in the way we're proceeding with progress for the current period. While that's positive, I think it is worthwhile that we continue to operate in a very dynamic, complex and challenging environment. Local authority and the sector, we all know in our individual portfolios that those challenges will continue to be ever present, changing. So the focus, I think, should remain corporately on ensuring that approach to supporting delivery across things that may, appear long away in the distance in terms of the plans delivery horizons, whether that's a year away or 2 years away, or very quickly be coming up on us. And probably I know that's something really focusing on our Cabinet accountability model meetings, the board meetings, meetings, which are providing us with the mechanisms to stay on top of what is a very challenging delivery agenda. There are some important progress points to note on the key performance indicators, which is summarised later on in the report, particularly under paragraph 4.7. A lot of these key challenges have been challenges for quite a while. I would draw the overall conclusion that we are starting to see quite important positive movement in areas where historically there have been really significant challenges in delivery, and I would probably want to call that the improvement in the timeliness of the HSP plans, and to offer that sort of observation corporately to Cabinet that first time in a very long time we've seen not only an improvement in the timeliness of new plans that we on to, and that's a really important pillar of the written statement of action and ongoing strategic work in that direction. But the really substantial progress, which I know has been noted in other places, and the work of the team. In my time, there's so there's meaningful investment that's going into improvement. You're seeing meaningful measurement of outcome now, which I think is important. There are ongoing challenges, like I've referenced the other key indicators of how impairs and how new work, where we are working very significantly corporately to provide additional support and improvement in capacity in all those areas. We are starting to see some incremental improvement in they remain areas of focus and attention. We have to draw attention to a draft narrative report under paragraph 7.1. There's a administrative issue that's given rise to an incorrect paragraph being put into the report. Completely take accountability for that, and apologise for behalf of the team. 7.1 should read, numerous occasions, February and the first one, we haven't been raised in one report, so I'd offer that amendment with paragraph 7.1 if that's okay. And my apologies again for that issue, but I'll pause there in terms of comments on the report and
Sorry, what? That was 7.1, just to add those lines.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if those could be emailed to Joy, so she can include them in the minutes.
consulted.
Yeah.
And the first of March, I'll be words going to Saturday.
Okay, anything else? No? Right, colleagues, are there any questions, comments? No? Okay. Right, so let's go to the recommendations on page 1. 2.1, for the reasons set out in the report and its appendices, Cabinet is recommended to note and consider the progress as at 2022-2023 in the delivery of the Building a Fairer strategy and the corporate delivery plan as set out in Appendix 1 and paragraph 4.4 to 4.5. And to note the position at Q3 of 2022-2023 of the Building a Fairer key performance indicators and outcome measures as set out in paragraph 4.8 and Appendix 1. So do we note? Yep. Great, okay. Is everyone awake?
Just about.
Just about, okay, fine. Let's move on to next agenda item 8. New homes for, well, it's former 8, yeah. Agenda, new homes for Newham programme.
Contract.
New homes for Newham programme 2023 to 20. Sorry, let me start again. New homes for Newham programme 2022 to 2023 Lays Road contract award. Over to you, Councillor Shafar Mohammed.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. In November 2022, Cabinet approved the procurement strategy for the Lays Road site contract. This scheme was reserve site for a 2018-23 programme if slippage occurred. The site is now progressing towards the start on site this month and to secure 11.6 million grant to deliver 116 new homes at affordable levels for all our residents to be delivered through the Affordable Homes Programme. The tenders have been returned and are currently being evaluated in order to enter into contract and draw down the grant to meet the GLA deadlines. Delegation authority is being sought after to enter into this contract up to the agreed evaluation and set out on the recommendation. And one of the things I'll say about Lays Road as well is that we're going to be building a SEN school next door to the site, and it's going to be absolutely amazing because I think 116 new homes are very much needed and at affordable level, social rent levels, which is again good. And one of the other things that we're going to be looking at Lays Road is to look at use passive house standards, also look at energy costs as well. So it'd be one of those sites that we're going to be looking at delivering low energy and making the buildings energy efficiency and also delivering low energy uses to our residents. Thank you. Any questions? I'm going to introduce our Director of Housing, Darren Levy.
Questions?
Any questions? Sorry.
Right, okay, colleagues. So if I can just draw your attention to the recommendations on big page number 91. So for the reasons set out in the report and its appendices, Cabinet is recommended to delegate authority to the Director of Housing in consultation with the lead member for Inclusive Economy and Housing Delivery, Air Quality, Climate Emergency and lead member for Housing Services to accept the final tender price award and enter into a JCT design and build contract 2016 with amendments for the Lays Road site for the sum set out in Appendix 1. That's restricted circulation appendix. 2.1.2, subject to 2.1.1, to delegate to the Director of Housing in consultation with lead member for regeneration planning and strategic housing delivery. And lead member housing services. It's apologies, you know, that should read the same as previous reference to lead member. There's just a slight anomaly, but it's the same portfolio lead, if that makes sense. And lead member housing services, approval of variances to these funding figures, 10%, any variations above 10% overall brought back to cabinet. And then 2.1.3, approve the inclusion of the Lees Road site into the 2018 to 2023 GLA programme if required to replace any slippage in the programme. Is that agreed?
Oh, you're not going to comments or questions?
Oh, sorry, did you want comments?
No, I just, sorry, I
found and I thought, I didn't see anyone in.
I was Darren. I thought Darren said he'd got nothing to add and then he just went straight in.
Right, okay. Well, clearly I will,
It doesn't matter.
No. I won't.
Positive comments, so.
No. I'd like to hear your comment.
Would you? Okay.
I demand to hear it.
We passed it now.
No, we haven't.
All right. So this is in my ward. And the piece, I mean, I would normally be wanting to encourage green spaces, etc. But this has been a piece of land in Custom House that has been blighted, you name it, it's been on there. So this is really welcome. And secondly, I just wanted to say thank you for the excellent consultation that took place with residents, because it was well attended, it was well staffed and very knowledgeable staff, and local people went away feeling very positive about it. So thank you.
What I was going to add, I think, you know, we'll talk about regeneration, but I think, you know, our regeneration, this administration, regeneration is about co-production, new homes and building new communities. And I think 160 homes is going to make a real difference, and it's actually going to significantly bring a new community into Custom House, and it's also going to be a wider part of that regeneration. So it's going to be more transformative into really developing, you know, bringing much needed new homes, and again, developing, really bringing a great regeneration scheme to Custom House. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Is there anyone else that would like to say anything before we make a decision? No? Right. Okay, cool. So as per the recommendations that I stated, do we all agree?
Agreed.
All agree. Okay, thank you very much. Now moving on to what was listed as item 9. This is progressing to James Wiley Point, and I'm going to be inviting Corporate Director for Inclusive Economy and Housing, Vicky Clerk, to talk through the detail of this as appropriate, but please note that there are exempt appendices for this item. So colleagues, this is a really important paper. It relates to, as you all know, our Carpenter's Estate, master planning and transformation, in line with manifesto commitments from 2018. We have been working toward commencing with the first phase on James Riley Point, since we won the ballot agreement from residents to proceed with the master plan proposition that we had co-designed in collaboration with them. And this paper relates to some of the issues as it pertains to James Riley Point, which, as you should all be aware, will result in the sustainable refurbishment of the tower high-rise block. It's one of 2 that will be retained as opposed to be knocked down. And also it will be benefiting from sustainable refurbishment. So it's going to be stripped back to its core. It's going to be retrofitted to a high contemporary standard of both livability and sustainability. And the scheme requires vacant possession. There's been discussions underway for several months, and this paper is going to be asking Cabinet to make 3 specific decisions in order for us to progress with the James Riley point and achieve vacant possession. And on the detail of those 3 elements, I will be inviting Vicky Clark to talk through those. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, for this introduction. As you said, in order to complete the refurbishment, we need to do a vacant possession of the property. And unfortunately, we started extended negotiations on a very high quality. Three decisions. James Riley point, including provision of a new centre. First, the project recognises various impacts on cost, including construction, finance to project design, and the potential cost of the compulsory purchase process. If members would like to see the detail, as well as the breakdown of the increased costs of paragraph 4, page 100 papers, to improve delegation of commencement of this. To approve commencement of the CEO delegation to officers to actually start as required session, and to approve point spending on three specific items. 1.3 million on support development scheme in parallel with the developers' work on the reconstruction services agreement at the end of this year. 1.3 million in builders insurance should make a professional and therefore work works, and the scheme. Very important to know we're now going to transform the Carpenters estate, but for the avoidance of that, the government council to the main contract stage. Back later in 2020.
Thank you very much. Okay, colleagues, are there any questions? Councillor Joshua Garfield, and then I see Councillor Charlie McLean.
I think Councillor McLean might have been the bit first.
Thank you, Chair. So I do welcome this report, and I appreciate the slight changes that were made following my comments on the draft of the paper. As a former Stratford councillor, I know that this has been an ongoing issue for some time with regards to Carpenters estate, and it's a really positive development that, you know, we are nearly there with refurbishing the tower. You know, there were plans to knock it down. We've worked and with local residents. So yeah, I just really welcome this, and it's a very positive step, and look forward to it actually being finalised. Thank you, Chair.
Super, great, thank you very much.
My comments were rather similar, quite frankly, but as somebody who used to live in Lum Point and knows the estate extremely well, this has been decades in the pipeline, and it is really relieving to see that a regeneration scheme that the community by and large supported in great numbers wishes to see the introduction of hundreds of more council homes to Carpenters to really utilise that parcel of land for the benefit of the many families on our housing waiting list is now further along that finish line. And I, for one, can't wait, hopefully, if invited, to be given a tour of James Riley Point when completed, because I've not been in one of those blocks since I lived there. And I know that it's going to look nothing like it did in the late 90s. And that in and of itself will be an incredible feat, but obviously to get that project off the ground for the benefit of the people who live on the estate and who will be returning to the estate in homes that are energy efficient, cheaper to heat, more sustainable, with better amenities, with active and involved neighbours that have moved into the new homes on the estate, and for the families who will benefit from all of the programmes of the council, both the Carpenters Regen programme, the acquisitions programme led by Councillor Mohammed, and the other homes that we're building and that Popular are building for residents in the borough. I think that entire estate is going to be completely revitalised to a level that it, you know, Councillor McLean talks about how long this has been going on for. I couldn't have imagined when I lived in Lund Point that it would be this far along and have this much support and be ready to deliver hundreds of new council homes for our residents. And I really cannot wait for this work to get started.
Thank you very much. Okay.
Just a really quick question. If we approve this today, when do we issue the CPO?
We are still having conversations with all these funds. We are still doing from those. So there will be with very quick conversations with at least 3 holders. So they have been operative decision.
So, if I may, Chair.
Yeah.
So are we actually saying, so if we do not get a resolution by the end of March?
That's the current policy.
Okay, because for me, we've been here before and I don't want us to approve this today and then 6 months later, somebody comes back and says, oh, we're going to start the CPO process now. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, fine. I've got Councillor Shabbar Mohammed.
I'm just going to echo the words of Councillor Garfield. I think it's really good that, you know, we're going to be looking at retrofitting, and main thing about James Riley Point, it will be a signature building. So the retrofitting and the energy efficiency that we're going to be doing on this block, hopefully we're going to mimic around our other towers and use some of the standards that we're doing around retrofitting our estates as well. So it's really, really good and it's really exciting. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, cool. Right, so can I just draw everyone's attention to the recommendations which are set out in, give me a moment. Big page number 99, and there's a lot, and I'm just going to draw everyone's attention to 2.1 all the way through to 2.7. And do we agree?
Agree.
Agree, thank you very much. And now we're going to be going to what was listed as agenda item 10. And this is the pre-procurement of leisure services management contract. And I'll be handing over to Councillor Neil Wilson, and I will then bring in officers Jason Strelitz and Simon Reed if he's online. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Chair. So again, I made a reference earlier in this meeting to the Council's Health and Wellbeing Strategy 50 Steps to Health of Borough, which we are refreshing in the court officer input to that. But it recognises right from its outset and its inception the importance of physical activity as a main contributor to residents' health and mental well-being, and a key factor in addressing the health inequalities that's been referenced in an earlier report. The other process that we meant following this Cabinet's agreement a year ago in March 2022 was discontinued in January, and I brought a paper here as a result of there being no compliant tenders with the mandatory upper financial cap set at 1.3 million. The leisure industry has faced a significant series of convergent pressures at their budgeting, not least of which is because there's the inflation pressures that affect us all, but there are increasing energy costs. Swimming pools in particular are very expensive to run, and a lot of authorities have actually discarded their leisure facilities. We have made a commitment to maintain as far as possible our leisure provision, and in fact enhance it if we can. But there are a lot of inflationary pressures of energy costs and the cost of living crisis, which we've referred to earlier. If people have a real disposable income that is shrinking, the membership may not be certainly on their high list of priorities, and that's fully understandable. And it is something that even private sector operators within this market are faced with. This report seeks permission to enter into a new procurement process so that the new contract be intended to be consequent upon the financial year beginning in the 1st of April 2024, so in a year's time, there would be a new contract then to be effective. And there's also a request within this report to continue our current contract with the current provider, Active Newham, which is an arms-based relationship arrangement we have with a provider. And that because we don't want to close our facilities for our residents, we need to ensure continuity. There's a two-part process within this report. Within the procurement process angle, we're hoping to build in flexibility because there will be challenges in the time ahead. The inflation is forecast to go down, but I think that there's still time lags within that. But it would enable bidders to suggest solutions that are consistent with our requirements, and we want that flexibility. So in order that there's an envelope for officers to carry on with hard work, looking at the market analysis that they've already embarked upon, and there are interested parties, this report seeks for the financial affordability limit to be increased for the first 3 years to 2 million from the original procurement exercise, which was at 1.3 million. So an injection of for the cap level of an extra 700,000. But that would be reducing obviously to 1.3 million for the year 4 to 10. And there would obviously +5 with the usual caveats to take account of inflation. So I think it's important that we stress that this is not the place where we'd want to be, but it's something that hopefully we can move forward to ensure not just a continuity of service for our residents, which have actually had an increasing footfall, I'm pleased to see, in the leisure centres, and it's been highlighted in the last report, but is continuing on an upward journey. We are looking very actively, sorry, no pun intended, we are proactively, I'll put that in front, proactively working with the current provider to ensure that there is a continuity of service and in fact, more accountability in some respects towards their service provision to us, even though that is not as influence them as it might be, for instance, those local authority trade companies that I've talked about earlier on. Right. I think I'll leave it there, Chair, and invite more.
Thank you very much.
Ed.
Okay, Jason or Simon?
A few quick things from me. The first is to emphasise the point about the importance of this for health and well-being. Addressing poverty is probably the most important thing we can do to support our population to be healthy. Probably the most important health intervention is to support people to be physically active, and that's from the smallest child to the oldest adult, and that's across physical and mental health. So the kind of health context of this is very important. The second thing I'd want to just add is thanks to Active Newham, who trustees and the senior leadership have been very flexible in working with us around this. It's not been straightforward for them. And they've had, like Councillor Wilson said, had challenges through the pandemic and now the inflation challenges. And so I'd like to thank them. And the third is just to emphasise something that's within this report, but maybe not central, but it's hugely important, is that this is another example of us committing the London Living Wage to a really important local workforce. So Newham staff are largely Newham, and within this, we had always committed that when we reprocured these services, that they would include the London Living Wage, but we've now included that from January the 1st of this current year. So we are now, as of now, already paying, or Active Newham are paying with our support, London Living Wage to our leisure staff. So that's another really important step in terms of our community wealth building agenda.
Great, thank you very much. Simon, over to you.
I'll keep it really brief, Mayor. I think that, well, we are as a council really committed to involving residents in how we design our services. And this is another example. Residents from adults through to children have been involved in designing the service, and they're also involved in the procurement process. So I think it's a really good example of us doing co-design once again.
Okay, thank you very much. Right, colleagues, do we have any questions? Okay, I've got Councillor Charlie McLean.
I have loads, Chair, but as it's Councillor Wilson's birthday, I won't ask them. Thank you.
That's your birthday present.
Is that at all?
It's his birthday, you should have.
Okay, that was very clever. Right, okay, so,
Be 40 once.
I didn't know it was his birthday.
Yeah.
okay, so colleagues, let's just get to the recommendations on big page number 166. And these run from 2.1 all the way through to 2.1.6. Just one thing, 2.1.4 in the agenda pack is in March 2023 is highlighted in yellow.
Yes, I checked that, and that is
it correct?
date, yes.
Okay.
I don't know why it's in yellow, Chair, mine.
Not to worry. So the recommendations 2.1.1 all the way through to 2.1.6. Do we agree?
Agreed.
Agreed. Brilliant. Okay. Now we are going to agenda item as listed, number 14 in the agenda pack, and this is the Phase 4 Hallsville Quarter update. So colleagues, similarly, please be advised that there are exempt appendices for this item, and if we'll need to remove press and public if you do want to refer to any of the detail in those restricted or exempt appendices. I'm going to keep my comments short. I will pass it over to Councillor Shabar Mohammed. And just to advise, there will be a secondary paper relating to Hallsville Quarter that is going to be coming to Cabinet in April, and that's very much our attempt under this administration through the council as it is now to do right what in essence is what I personally believe is a wrong, and I'm using those words carefully, not to expose the council, because regretfully, as is the wisdom of a bygone age, thankfully, the council entered into an agreement with this major developer to reimagine Canning Town as a new major town centre for the borough, and it's not worked out pretty great, I'd have to say. And we are working through getting it sorted, unfortunately, because of entrenched, embedded, highly costly contractual agreements that the council signed at the time, and this was prior to the administration coming in. We have limited manoeuvre and choice. And as you can imagine, if we had more choice and we had more flex and manoeuvrability, we would be doing things in a drastically different way. So the report details the reasons, background, and also in light of the contractual obligations that we are bound by, we are going to need to agree the recommendations set out in the report. And I will invite officers to talk through the recommendations and what that actually means. But in essence, the phase 4 of the development, as a consequence of the decision today, will be able to advance and progress, and that will provide some 400 student homes and some commercial properties. Arguably, whether or not we need 400 student homes in that part of the borough is debatable, but that's a conversation for outside of this forum. So, Shabs, would you like to make some?
Yeah, I think at the end of
No, don't worry. I will let you know if you have to leave. Okay?
Yes, thank you.
Again, I think it's, I echo what the mayor said, it's done in the past, and, we need to move on. It is a bit of a tough decision. We have to go ahead with it. I would rather have more homes for our residents, and, what we're currently doing in the Canning Town and customer regeneration is more co-production, working with our residents, and looking at their needs and trying to build homes fit for purpose and around the needs of our residents. So it's, I think I echo what the mayor said, and I think we just move forward and go and recommend this paper today.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you very much. Right, I'm going to be inviting Vicky to talk through this. This is Officer Vicky Clark, the Corporate Director of Inclusive Economy and Housing Delivery, and Darren Mackin is also our Director of Community Wealth Building. I'll invite him in to say a few words as well. Over to you.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, simply to say that this is quite a technical decision that we're making. The purpose of the technical decision is to appropriate this land from one fund to another, and the exercise of doing that gives the developers what is called clean title, which means that they should be able to proceed with the development. Other background matters have been discussed. There are then further delegations in the report with regard to the potential reappropriation of the land, and those decisions are delegated to the Corporate Director of Finance and Resources on the basis that the management of that has some implications for the competition. I don't think I'm break them in detail on that, but obviously I'm happy to take this.
Okay, thank you very much. And Darren Mackin, would you like to add anything else?
And just very quickly, because all the points have been covered really, there's a land receipt that comes to the council as part of the original deal when this paper is agreed, so the council will benefit from that.
Okay, super, right. Okay, and I'm assuming we can't ask by what value we benefit in this open forum. Oh, okay, cool. Right, so any questions?
No, I'm sure a lot of people would like to reimagine coming down.
Okay, don't worry, we'll get round to it. It's going to be all fine and amazing. Right, okay, 2020. I know, Joffa, I just don't know.
Don't worry.
I think it's too late in the day to worry about things like that.
Big page number 9, all the way through to page number 230. There are recommendations from 2.1 all the way through to 2.2. I'm not going to read them out because it's a lot, and I know that I will always put Sarah Lewis to speak, but
very awake.
It's the morning. It's the morning. Do we all agree, colleagues? Okay, fine. So before we all depart, I just wanted to move on to agenda item 15, which is exclusion of the press and public. And if you can note on the, if you turn the page over of the agenda pack, where it's got the contents, and you'll see a list of exempt appendices, 16 through to 21. And I just need formal approval from Cabinet that those have all been noted for the purposes of record keeping and good governance.
Agreed.
Is that all agreed?
Agreed, yeah.
Great, thank you very much. But we should have got them. Yeah, yeah, so that's pretty good. Yeah, okay, thank you very much. All right. Take care, everyone. Oh, before you all go, oh, you've got to go, yeah?
Just everyone stay. Just go and get safe.
Oh, okay, fine. In the meanwhile, just wanted to advise that yesterday was International Women's Day, and the theme of this year is Embrace Equity. And even though we celebrate it globally as part of a global movement of women around the world advancing the all-important cause, freedom, liberation and empowerment, I just wanted to say that it's not just one day, it's every day. So thank you to all my female colleagues, both in Cabinet and wider executive, and also on the opposite side for everything that you do.